What is going on, y'all, and welcome back to another video on Need for Speed Unbound. Now, in this video, we are going to be going in depth on some things that have been discovered by the community, as well as some things related to the gameplay that we showed recently. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. And before we get too far along, I do want to let you guys know that the gameplay in the background is Need for Speed Heat with the Unite mod running on PC with a physics mod as well. Now, the first thing I wanted to show you guys is this. Now, a user by the name of L Chicken Boy actually mapped out on the official map every single location that was used in the trailer and traced it back, or at least the most recent gameplay trailer, and traced it back to those exact locations on the map itself. This is insane, and I don't think a lot of people realize how much time and effort goes into putting something together like this, so mad props to them for doing so. Now, one of the areas of the gameplay trailer that intrigued me a lot was when you see them racing up that mountain pass, and apparently it was a lot closer to one of the corners of the map than I actually thought it was. I thought it was one of those roads that's a little bit further to the left, when in all reality, it actually looks like it's a little bit closer to some of the other neighborhoods in the game. Regardless, I think this is going to be one of the most fun areas of the map, both for drifting, toge battles, mountain racing, literally anything that could take place on a mountain road, and in that way as well, I think it could be a cool area for meetups and car meets and photos and things like that as well. But that particular area of the map is probably one of the most exciting areas to me, because me personally, I just really enjoy anything that is centered around mountain driving. I think mountain driving has always played a big role in racing games for me ever since Fujimi Kaido back in Forza Motorsport 4. Now, I understand that not everybody watching this video is going to either know what that is or have played it before, and maybe it's just the nostalgia talking, but that's where my mind immediately goes whenever I see a really good-looking mountain road section in a new video game, even something that's like upcoming. Another thing I wanted to talk about in relation to Need for Speed Unbound is Toyota and their absence from the car list initially. Now, I did see a video that came through the Need for Speed Reddit called The Real Reason Why Toyota is Not in the New Need for Speed, or Need for Speed Unbound, and it was by a channel called Core, or K-O-R-R, I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it. Either way, basically, their theory was that they decided not to spend the money on the Toyota license, or spend really the extra money, the extra budget on the Toyota license. Now, whether or not that's true, we'll have to wait and see, and I imagine we will never really know the full answer to that, and what I expect might happen is later on down the road, we may get a Toyota DLC, because I think with Toyota's return to several other racing games, it's only a matter of time before they return to Need for Speed. Now, I don't know how the pricing in terms of car licensing works, or which brands are more expensive or less expensive, but when you look at the car list for Need for Speed Unbound, and you see a large list of a brand like Ferrari, then that kind of makes it a little bit hard to think in your head, like, okay, wait, so we have a bunch of licensed Ferraris, but the Toyota licensing fee was too much? Now, granted, I don't know. Like, Toyota licensing fees may be more than Ferrari. I don't legitimately know. I'm just kind of throwing ideas out there in relation to that, but that's why when I watched that video, I was a little bit skeptical that price alone was the only reason Toyota wasn't in the game. Now, I know some of you guys may say in the comments, well, you know, what about that tweet from years ago that Toyota sent where they were like, well, we don't put our cars in games that engage in illegal street racing? And I'm like, yo, the cars are in Forza Horizon now. Like, I don't think going, 200 down a highway is exactly legal. So either way, you can draw your own conclusions from that. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about in this video is the community around Need for Speed. Now, the community around Need for Speed is a very interesting one and kind of an odd one because the series has been around for so long, and a lot of people have different favorite Need for Speed games. Now, I think what this has led to, though, is a lot of people on one side of the fence that are like, I am super excited for Unbound, and then people on the other side of the fence that are like, wow, this looks terrible, this is gonna be garbage, the series is dead, and then the people in the middle that are like, I'm gonna wait and see what this game is actually like, what it plays like, what it feels like. I'm not gonna pre-order it, I'm gonna wait for actual, like, release footage to come out, and then I'm gonna pick it up. Or maybe not pick it up, depending on what they see. And I think that middle-of-the-road position is a very, very good place to be. I think that's a very smart place to be for a lot of people. I'll definitely be picking it up, like, at launch as soon as I possibly can, and, I mean, I just want to get my hands hands on it. I'm very, very excited to see what Unbound actually plays like, and I haven't decided yet whether or not I'm going to leave those visual effects on, because you can turn them off like the developers have stated. And oddly enough, I did see some people reacting to this with mixed opinions. I saw some people saying, oh good, I'm glad you can turn them off. It'll be the first thing I turn off the moment I start the game, and I'll never turn them back on. And then there were other people that are like, well, why would you even want to turn them off? I like the new direction. But here's the beauty of that whole thing. Here's the beauty of an option. It gives everyone the option to play the game the way they want to play the game. Because, let's face it, there is no right or wrong way to play a Need for Speed game, or really any racing game for that matter, if you're enjoying it and having a good time and it's giving you the experience you want. And I've seen this in other games as well, like I've seen it in, say, for example, over in SnowRunner, where people will say, no, this is a hauling game, it's only about hauling trucks, it's only about, like, large, realism-based trucks that do hauling missions, and that's it, and they get upset or angry whenever they see someone using it as, like, a rock crawling game or a mudding game or whatever the case may be. But again, the beauty of it is there's the ability to choose your experience. And when you have the ability to choose your experience, that allows more people to have an enjoyable experience playing the game. And here's the thing, someone else's playthrough of a game does not affect your playthrough of that same game. So if they play the game completely differently than you play the game, then literally there's no big deal, because one is not affecting the other. One really cool thing that not everybody has talked about yet is how we're getting the Ford Crown Vic as something other than a police car. And that's, I think, the first time in the series we have ever officially had this car as both a police cruiser and a civilian vehicle. Now, look at the freaking diffuser on the back of this thing. Look at the body kit. It's got white wall tires. Like, what the heck even is this build? But I love it because, again, it's so new. It's so different. It's such a change of form and change of pace for Need for Speed. Now, obviously, you know, not every car in the game is going to be a Crown Vic. You're not going to be running around with an army of Crown Vics, or, well, maybe you will. I don't know. I don't know how you play the game. I don't know your life. It depends. I mean, that's up to you. You might fill your entire garage with Crown Vics. But back to my previous point, I love how they've taken vehicles that, like, not everybody would think in their head, like, oh yeah, this is like a car that I would build and modify and customize and then race, because there's a bunch of people out there that are going to be really, like, confused as to why you can have the Crown Vic as, like, a customizable player vehicle. But I feel like there's also going to be another group of people that's going to be like, yo, this is the best thing to come to Need for Speed in so long. Because there are technically people out there that have built Ford Crown Vics as autocross cars and canyon carvers and track day cars. They're not the most common thing to build for that, but there are still builds like that out there. I mean, somewhat recently, the Smoking Tire did a video where they drove one in the LA Canyons that was entirely set up as like a autocross car slash canyon carver, and it impressed the heck out of them. So who knows? The platform actually might be really fun to have in a racing game. Now, getting around to the end of the video here, one of the things that I really wanted to talk about and revisit is the fact that this game, in order to survive, is going to need proper amounts of post-launch support. Now, they have already stated that they have a lot of plans for post-launch support, but it's definitely something that we are going to have to wait and see if they actually do it, because with Heat, I think Heat could have really stayed in the public eye a lot longer if it had been properly supported. If there had been more new features, more new vehicles, more things just added to the game in general, I think that Heat really could have built up a very active community underneath it. Because look at it this way, like, there's people still playing Need for Speed Heat, and there's still people making mods for it. There's still people doing all these different things. Yeah, I just randomly decided to do a donut in the middle of the course there. Don't worry about it. It's fine. But what I really think the game is going to need in terms of Need for Speed Unbound, especially to keep that fan base really, really happy and keep the game moving and moving and moving, it's going to be the inclusion of regular updates, regular patches, regular quality of life improvements, regular addition of cars, addition of new customization options, additions of body kits, additions of wheels. And I think if they get into a real rhythm with that, we could see this game not only building a community, but that community lasting for a really, really long time and developing a really happy, really active user base. And that's honestly what I'm really, really hoping they do, because while, yes, Need for Speed has had a couple of ups and downs over the past few years, I would really like to see the series just thrive in general, because I grew up with Need for Speed. I grew up with all of these different Need for Speed games, Most Wanted 05, you know, even back to older games like Hot Pursuit 1998, High Stakes, Porsche Unleashed. Like, I've been around this series since the original Hot Pursuit all the way up to now playing Need for Speed Heat, and I would really like to see this series continue to thrive and build a fan base for years to come. But that's gonna do it for this video, y'all, and if you guys enjoyed it, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys next time.